type of life insurance that we're going to talk about today, we've already gone over several different types of life insurance on the previous episodes. And so today, what we're going to go over is the variations or expansions on universal life. So we've already gone over the types of term insurance, and then on episode 2 went over whole life insurance and also traditional universal life, and then variable whole life. So today we're going to talk about 2 different types of universal life. The first one is called variable universal life, or VUL. And then the second one we're going to talk about is IUL, which stands for indexed universal life, variable universal life, and indexed universal life. Both, if you rewatch episode 2, both are what are called permanent life insurance plans. So you have term, which is temporary, and permanent, which is, of course, as long as both are paid for. One is more temporary than not sometimes. And then you have these plans that are permanent insurance plans, which, if paid for and paid into over the life of the policy, it lasts until age 100, 105, 121 in a lot of universal life policies. So there's 2 components of any permanent plan. Is you're going to have the cash value that starts at 0 and grows over time. And then you have the cost of insurance that, depending on the plan, could decrease over time, could slowly increase. But this is just to show that there's 2 halves. Okay, and then the same thing with an IUL, or indexed universal life, and we'll get to that when we get down to here. So a variable universal life plan has the same features of a traditional universal life, where if our death benefit is, say, $250,000, and we've got about a 35-year-old, 40-year-old male, let's say, the death benefit, so death benefit is $250,000, and then the premium, what goes into the plan, is going to be flexible, because this is a feature of universal life plans where the exact same amount, like in a term policy, it doesn't have to be the exact same amount every single month. It's a flexible premium where they give you a minimum premium, or a lot of the time this is called a no-lapse premium, meaning as long as you pay that, the policy is not going to lapse for a certain amount of time. And then you have your maximum that can go in, which in the first few years is called the 7-pay premium. We'll talk about this on another video when we dive into depth on these. The 7-pay, or the annual guideline premium. Okay, guideline annual, or annual guideline premium. But it's basically, you have a minimum and a maximum. Okay, the cost of insurance is based on a type of life insurance called annual renewable term. Annual renewable term, or ART. And so if this person is 35, they take the cost of insurance for a 35-year-old male, a 1-year annual renewable term on a 35-year-old male for $250,000, and that's the cost of insurance for that year. Then the next year, they take a 35-year-old, $250,000 annual renewable term. What's the cost that year? Okay, so let's say that the minimum on this policy is $100, and the maximum is $400. Minimum 100, maximum 400, which would be about accurate. So if the person was to put in $100, does that mean that all 100 goes to the cost of insurance? No. No matter what they're putting in, minimum or maximum, there's going to be an amount, not a percentage, but an amount that goes to the cost of insurance, and whatever is in excess of that goes to the cash value. So in this example, first, let's say he puts in 100. This person puts in $100. Somewhere in that first year, probably somewhere between $20, $30, maybe $40 is going to go to the cost of insurance. So let's call it $40. If $40 goes to the cost of insurance, then the $60 goes to the cash value. But here's what's interesting. That's that's basically 40% of what they put in goes towards the cost of insurance. If they were to put in the maximum, $400, then only 10% goes to the cost of insurance of what they're putting in, because this does not change based on what they're putting in that first year. You put in $400, $40 a month goes to the cost of insurance. You put in $100 a month, $40 a month goes to the cost of insurance. It's not a percentage. And then the excess or the difference would go into the cash value. So if they were to put in $400, $40 goes to insurance, $360 goes to the cash value, and then it can grow over time. Why it's called, and that's why it's called universal life, because it has all the features of a universal life plan. Flexible premiums, flexible death benefit can be lowered over time and even increased with potentially new underwriting. But then it also gives them the ability not only to just be flexible here, but also potentially skip payments. Because how it works is they are concentrating on that minimum monthly premium. So for example, if the minimum, and we'll jump over here, hopefully we can see this. Am I going too far? About there. It's too far. So we've got about the whole thing here. So if the minimum per month is 100, but I put in 400, how many months worth of the minimum did I just put in? Well, I put in 4 months worth of the minimum. So if somebody puts in 400 a month, 400 a month, 400 a month for several months, they're then able to start skipping months. If they go an entire year putting in $400 a month, that's $4,800. If the minimum is only $1,200 for the year, they could technically skip several years after that, and that could be helpful, right, for some people. Some people need to be more forced. Some people need to be more flexible. Sometimes flexible is dangerous for some people, but that's why it's a variation of universal life, because that's how it works. You can pick your death benefit. It can be level or increasing, which we'll talk about on another video, and maybe when we edit all this, down at the bottom we'll put what episode we talk about increasing and level, so that people can jump to that and understand that better. But the V in variable has to do with where the cash value is invested. When we talk about whole life and universal life, we've talked about the cash value being in the general account of the life insurance company, where they are managing that money, and really the risk is on them to manage that properly. In a variable universal life contract, the cash value is invested in the market. So similar to a 401k, but what they're called in a VUL or a variable life plan is a sub-account, where basically you're picking the funds that it's in, and every company has different ways of investing. You know, Nationwide's VUL, they have this mix of investments, and Transamerica's has another, and you know, there's all the different types of companies. And it's basically, you have your little pie chart, you know, like you get on a 401k statement, and you can divide it up in however many different accounts that you want, some international growth and bonds and stocks and domestic this and commodities that, and they all have little names accompanied with a prospectus to help people understand what they're investing in. And so variable, meaning that this cash value can go up in value as we increase and the value of those stocks increase, but then we also have to understand the downside risk, hence the need for shopping and working with a financial professional, and then also looking at that prospectus of the history and the fees and understanding that. But in summary, that is a variable universal life plan. If it's a level death benefit, this picture is very quite accurate in how it works, is that over time, not a perfectly straight line going up, but over time, as we save into it and as our investments do well, it should increase over time. And then being a level death benefit, the cost of insurance gets to a point where it does and can actually go down, where the cost actually does get smaller over time. And the idea of the level and the increasing death benefit from talking to other insurance professionals or financial professionals is probably one of the most misunderstood pieces of these plans, both the death benefit, the cost of insurance, the flexibility, and how to make policies like this advantageous for the insured or the person putting the money into it. So that is variable universal life. I spent quite a bit of time on that one because indexed universal life is almost exactly identical except for one piece. So if you were to take the whole, all of these details and just shift them down, everything's the same except the V and the I. So V means it's spread out in all these different accounts and can go up and down and is variable, where the indexed universal life has a floor and a ceiling. Or a lot of companies call it a cap. But basically a floor and a ceiling. It's just, we're in a room, there's a ceiling, there's a floor. It's just a better visual. So the word index means a couple of things. There's indexed funds, S&P, Dow Jones, NASDAQ, Euro Stoxx 50, Hang Seng, etc. Those are all indexes or indices. I grew up in a farming community. Indices, that just sounds fun. Indexes, multiple indexes, where you can put money straight into that index. Well, if you put money straight into the index, it goes up and it goes down. It's more similar to here. There might even be indexed funds inside of a variable policy, where this is an indexed account, meaning they use a concept called indexing. And indexing means floors and caps. So, for example, there's one approach by several companies that do a floor and a cap rate. So the floor, let's say, would be 0, and the cap is 14%. So that means if the market is going up, and let's say that's a mix of the S&P and the Euro, then if those are going up, I get to go up and participate in the gains in those indices. I don't have my money directly in them, but as they go up, I get to participate in the increase up to that cap or ceiling. And so if those two accounts that it's in goes up 20%, I would only get 14. But if it goes down, the worst I can do in a year is 0. And so that's an indexing, one of the features of indexing. The other feature is something that's extremely unique, is a lock-in feature. And how the lock-in feature works is that if I am here and my account goes up to here, and then the next year the market starts to go down, as soon as it starts to go down, my account is locked in on that anniversary date. And though the market may be doing something like this, but then when it gets to here it goes down, my account is locked in and reset. It's called the annual reset, to where it just kind of waits to see what the market's going to do. And if somewhere here the market goes up, then as soon as it goes up, so I just kind of float at 0 because that's my floor. And then when the market goes up, I get to go up from the 0, not losing point. I don't have to go up from down here. I get to go up from here. And then if the market goes down again, and then it goes up again, then I get to go, I float across when it's negative. I get to go up when it goes up. So what if the market just did this forever, right? If I went up and over and up and over, and the actual market that it's following, those indexes that it's falling behind, just kind of do this and kind of just stays the same, but just up and down, up and down, up and down, what would happen in an index lifeline? It would actually go up, because every time there's an increase, I get to participate up to a cap in that increase. So it may look something like that, tiny, tiny gains over time. where the market just totally stays flat. Now, it just depends on the person. The clients that I meet with, some of them want to be more aggressive, some of them want to be conservative, but the basics of it is that you have indexed accounts, floors and ceilings, or some do participation rates or other ways of measuring. But it's basically you don't get to participate in the full gains of those indexes that it's following. Only get to participate in up to a ceiling or a participation rate. And then the last feature of both is that any money that's accessed from the cash value, because of the tax code and the tax laws that govern these policies, as long as it's taken out properly, it can be accessed tax-free. Free of income tax in how those provisions work, whether through loans or withdrawals. Loans have interest. There's regular loans and select loans, which when we get into the depths of both of these in future episodes, we'll talk about rates and different companies and how those work, and select loans and wash loans and all of those things. But essentially and basically, if you take it out the proper way and working with a professional that actually knows how these works, and I'll be honest, there's a lot of companies out there, maybe this is my 30-second rant, there's a lot of companies out there that they just sell the crap out of this thing, talking about, money in, growth tax-free, come out tax-free, yet the way that the professional sets it up, they're never going to get their money tax-free, or they might for a few years. They're not teaching them how to take it out right. They're not setting it up right. They're not following up with them to make sure that it maintains the setup the right way status, if you want to call it. And that's the thing. That's the other purpose of doing this. Impact School of Money is even for agents. There will be a day where this will spread across the United States, and we'll have multiple financial professionals plugging into this because a lot of them are just flat not trained on how this works. There's companies that only sell term that are basically in their training lied to about how these work, so it makes it look like term is better. But then there's also companies that sell these or offer these plans, and they have inferior products, or they're just not even explained right. And very, very misunderstood. That's why David McKnight, in his book, The Power of Zero, and Look Before You LIRP, L-I-R-P, stands for Life Insurance Retirement Plan, talks about working with a competent insurance professional in getting these set up properly. So there's my rant, my 1-minute rant on that, and that's our class for today. So on Thursday, we'll be going over another 5-minute concept, real world rule of money, finish up on different life insurance plans and kind of bring them all together and do a summary there, and some practical application of which one serves who, and we'll go from there. So thanks again for joining us this morning, and please give me feedback, send me texts. It would have been better if this, it would have been better if that. I know there were some suggestions about trying to get this all on PowerPoint, but maybe that would help. Let me know your thoughts, opinions, what we could do to make this better, and then make sure that you share this with somebody. Even if it's not somebody that's in the industry, even if it's not somebody that's right now, it's just kind of our team thing. But share it with somebody. Say, hey, what are you doing Thursday morning? You want to learn about how money works for free for 30 minutes, and they can jump on and learn some concepts. And the way that this is going to grow is by sharing it and starting within our organization and then growing from there. So thank you for joining us this morning. Have a fantastic day, and find somebody to talk to about this and apply it. So have a wonderful day.